Hello class. So I will be starting with chapter 2 today, and the name of the chapter is Classification of Law. In the previous chapter we saw that what are the various terms and what are the various definitions, theories related to the meaning of law. Now we will see that what are the classifications or types of law. Classification of law is important for correct and comprehensive understanding. Following are benefits of classifying law. Useful in understanding the interrelation of rules, systematic arrangements of rules, and profession and students of law. So, if you are classifying law, it will be helpful for you as a student, for the people who are teaching law as a profession, and to understand that how rules are interrelated to each other and how everything needs to be systematically arranged so as these rules. What would be the systematic arrangement? For that also it is important that everything should be classified. The different human species, different living species on this earth, they are also classified into various categories, so that each and every category has a different characteristic of its own, and that can be distinguished, and learning can become easy for the students. So for systematic arrangement, it is very important that laws or rules should be classified into various categories. There are several ways of classifying law. An idea of classification is not new. Even in ancient civilizations, jurists were well aware of difference between civil and criminal laws. Now, this is a very well distinguishing feature, civil and criminal laws. I guess everyone knows सिविल और क्रिमिनल में हम डिस्टिंग्विश करते हैं. सिविल फैमिली मैटर्स, प्रॉपर्टी रिलेटेड या हस्बैंड वाइफ रिलेटेड डिवोर्स वगैरह, दैट आर ऑल सिविल. और जो क्राइम्स कमिट करते हैं, दैट इज़ क्रिमिनल मैटर. However, with passage of time, many new branches have come into existence and therefore old classification has become outdated. टाइम के साथ नई चीज़ें आती हैं, पुरानी चीज़ें ऑब्सोलीट हो जाती हैं. सो एज दिस क्लासिफिकेशन, बहुत न्यू ब्रांचेस आ गई हैं, दैट नाउ द ओल्ड क्लासिफिकेशन हैज़ बिकम आउटडेटेड. Law can be classified in many ways with respect to time and place, but broadly it can be divided into international law and municipal law. Now, international law is an important branch of law. It deals with those rules and regulations which are recognized and are binding upon each other through reciprocity. Now, if you have heard the term reciprocal territory, India gives some countries and some countries give India the status of reciprocal territory. Means the rules of India would be in some cases implemented, or it can be implemented in other country, and rule of other country in some cases can be implemented in India. So that is known as reciprocal. राइट. रेसिप्रोकल मैथ्स में होता था ना, एक नंबर है 5, उसका रेसिप्रोकल 1/5, 1/5 का रेसिप्रोकल 5 उल्टा हो जाता था. तो उसी प्रकार से रेसिप्रोकल टेरिटरी मतलब कि यहाँ का लॉ उधर लग सकता है और उधर का लॉ इधर लग सकता है. तो व्हेन द कंट्रीज रिकॉग्नाइज अदर कंट्रीज एज रेसिप्रोकल टेरिटरीज, दैट मीन्स द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस ऑफ वन नेशन कैन बी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एंड कैन बी बाइंडिंग अपॉन द अदर कंट्री. Many jurists do not give much importance to this branch. In recent time, this branch has grown manyfold and has acquired increasing importance because globalization has occurred. Right? Every country is all together at the same level at the international market. ट्रेड एक्सपोर्ट इम्पोर्ट इज़ ग्रोइंग. बहुत हाई रेट पर एक्सपोर्ट इम्पोर्ट हो रहा है. सारी कंट्रीज एक साथ आ गई हैं, एक ही लेवल पे इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में इतना कंपटीशन चल रहा है. डिफरेंट कंट्री के आइटम्स यहाँ पर बिक रहे हैं, एंड वी आर ऑल्सो एक्सपोर्टिंग टू वेरियस अदर कंट्रीज. सो दैट इज़ व्हाट, दैट इज़ ग्लोबलाइजेशन. ड्यू टू ग्लोबलाइजेशन, वर्ल्ड हैज़ कम टू अ fist, right? We can access all the materials of the world at the touch of a button through internet. Yes, so that's why due to globalization, international law has now gained importance. Now, international law is also classified into two: public and private. Public international law relates to body of rules and regulations which governs the relationship between nations, like WTO, World Trade Organization. So it's an international level body which has its own set of rules and regulations, and it deals with the relationship between nations. Countries mutually recognize these set of rules which are binding on them in their transactions. Now see, all the rules of WTO, if a country signs that rule book, okay, then the head of the country goes in his nation and there he sanctions it with its government. वहाँ पर उन रूल्स को वो इम्प्लीमेंट करता है, तभी वो रूल उस कंट्री पर बाइंडिंग हो जाते हैं. सिर्फ साइन करने से बाइंडिंग नहीं होते, वो वहाँ पर जाकर उस चीज़ को अपने देश में सैंक्शन करता है. जब उस सैंक्शन हो जाता है तभी कहते हैं कि नाउ द रूल्स आर बाइंडिंग ऑन दैट नेशन. सो WTO के जो रूल्स हैं, जो भी कंट्रीज़ वहाँ पे साइन कर रही हैं, दे हैव टू फॉर इम्प्लीमेंटिंग, फॉर इट टू बी बाइंडिंग, नाउ दे हैव टू सैंक्शन इट. ओके, sanction and signing are different things. Private international law is that part which deals with cases having a foreign element. Private law relates to rights of private citizens of different countries. Now see, marriages and adoption of individuals belonging to different nations fall within its domain. If we have India, okay, and I decide to adopt a person who is of England. So these are two different countries. I am ready to adopt a private person or a single person of another country. So here private international law will come into being. Now, but if I am trading with a country, then that would be public international law, because there is a body which will regulate my relationship with the person, with the trade of that country, and that is WTO. So if there is such body with its own set of rules and regulations which will regulate the relationship, so that will be public. A personal काम होगा, कोई personal marriage या adoption purpose है, so that will be obviously private. Now this is International Court of Justice, which has its headquarters at Hague, Netherlands, established year 1945. You read all this information, it is very important, and please search for it and be updated. As I always say about these informations, be updated. Municipal law are basically domestic और national laws जो country अपने अंदर rule करने के लिए बनाती है, that is municipal law. They regulate relationship between state and its citizens and determines relationship among citizens. तो state के लिए क्या rules हैं, उसके citizens के लिए क्या rules हैं, तो state government central government के बीच क्या rules हैं, so that all is governed by municipal law. अब now it is classified into two segments, public law and private law. पब्लिक लॉ के अंदर तीन है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लॉ, क्रिमिनल लॉ, एंड प्राइवेट लॉ इज फर्दर डिवाइडेड इनटू थ्री, पर्सनल लॉ, प्रॉपर्टी लॉ, लॉ ऑफ ऑब्लिगेशंस. सॉरी, ओके, सो लेट्स रीड फ्रॉम हियर. Public law chiefly regulates relationship between state and its subjects. It provides structure and functioning of organs of states. As I told you, two different branches of government, state government और central government में क्या relationship होगा, तो state government के बीच क्या relationship होगा, गवर्नमेंट और सिटीजन्स के बीच क्या रिलेशनशिप होगा, किस रूल या लॉ के अंडर वो गवर्न किए जाएंगे, दैट ऑल इज पब्लिक लॉ. Constitutional law is considered to be basic and supreme law because constitutional law is derived from the provisions which are in the constitution. Nature of any state is basically determined by its constitution. It provides structure of government. All organs derive their powers from constitution. Some countries such as India have a written constitution, while countries such as UK have an uncodified constitution. Their constitution is not written. In India, fundamental rights are granted and protected under the Constitution. Constitution provisions के बारे में हमने chapter 4 में बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ा है, तो I'm not gonna repeat it now. Administrative law mainly deals with powers and functions of administrative authorities. नाम से ही पता चल रहा है administrative law. So it deals with the rules and regulation that will give powers and functions to the administrative authorities, जो administration के लिए governance के लिए responsible हैं. The government institutions, various organs of government, government departments, सरकारी department जो होते हैं, institutions. It deals with the extent of powers held by administrative bodies and mechanism whereby their actions can be controlled. Check and balance का system है इंडिया में, तो उनके क्या पास है, उनके क्या फंक्शंस हैं, उनकी क्या ड्यूटीज़ है, वो सारा एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लॉ बताता है. और किस तरीके से अगर उन्होंने अपने पावर को मिसयूज़ किया तो कैसे उन्हें रेगुलेट या कंट्रोल किया जाएगा, वो भी यही लॉ बताता है. It provides for legal remedies in case of any violation of rights of people. And again, legal remedies for violation of rights of people can be fought under constitutional law also. So there may be some cases where only one law is not implemented, but that law can be paired with some or the other provision, with some or the other law. So paralleling of law or pairing of law can take place. Criminal law deals with acts which are prohibited by law and defines prohibited act as an offense. If law says that you don't have to murder somebody, so murdering is an action which is prohibited by law, जो कि law से मना किया गया है, और वो and law considers murdering or killing somebody to be a crime. That is an offense, right? Crime, offense, whatever you say. And if you do that, if you violate the law, if you do an act which was deliberately prohibited by law, you are doing it, that means you have committed a crime, and for that now you will get a punishment, or you will also be liable to pay a fine. Criminal law is important for maintaining law and order in the society, to maintain peace, to maintain order, to maintain harmony. It is considered part of public law, as crime is not only against individual but against whole society. I have been saying this again and again. I don't know whether in class 12th or this class, because there is the chapter of crime. I told you that crime is always against the whole society. It is never against a single person. It is not only against the victim जिस पर crime commit हुआ, but it is against the society. That's why it is considered to be a societal wrong. Society के against wrong है crime. Indian Penal Code 1860, that is also known as IPC in short form, is an example of a criminal law legislation in which different kinds of offences are defined and their punishments are prescribed. So IPC में various जो भी crimes recognize किए गए हैं law में, that all are defined in various sections. And what they first are defined कि अगर मैंने बोला मर्डर, तो क्या ऐसा हो कि हम उसको मर्डर के कैटेगरी में डालें, तो उसकी डेफिनेशन दी हुई है, whoever commits an act. सो उसकी डेफिनेशन दी है कि मर्डर का क्या होगा, रेप का क्या होगा, रॉबरी का क्या होगा, सबकी डेफिनेशन दी गई है. और फिर उसके एक बाद वाले सेक्शन में उसकी पनिशमेंट बताई गई है कि whoever commits this, he is entitled to this or that punishment. Private law. This branch of law defines, regulates, governs, enforces relationship between individuals and associations and corporations. So this deals with definition, regulation and enforcement of mutual rights and duties of individuals. So this private law is, obviously पहले हम definition देंगे, what will be governed or regulated under that law, that will be told, and then the relationship will be established if that law is implemented. So that law defines, regulates, governs and establishes a relationship between individuals and associations. So private institutions और citizens के बीच के लिए interaction के लिए जो law बनाया जा रहा है, that is private law. Duties of individuals, rights of individuals, the regulation, enforcement of those rights, that is private law. State intervenes through its judicial organs to settle dispute between parties. Private confers civil rights which are administered and adjudicated by civil courts. Much of life of a society is regulated by this set of private law or civil rights. Now see, civil law means matters related to the common public. And if there is a dispute between any two people or any two parties which are in the common public arena, so that would be solved by judiciary. And judiciary is also a state organ, that means government organ है ना. There are three organs of government, उसमें से एक organ judiciary भी है. So judiciary solves the disputes between two parties, and that's why it is said that state intervenes through its judicial organ, that is courts. And to resolve the matters we have courts obviously, and for civil matters we have civil courts. For criminal matters to look into we have criminal courts of law at district and at state levels. And also the civil matters like family related matters, the family law जिसको बोलते हैं, family law, family related matters, property disputes, all that, the marriage disputes, divorce, all those things will be private law. To enforce the rights of the citizens, what will be the duties of the citizens, that to implement that is also private law. Now this can be classified into personal law, property law and law of obligations. Personal law branch related to marriage, divorce, succession, that is property succession, hereditary जो होती है, मेरे बाद मेरा बेटा, उसके बाद उसका बेटा, that is inheritance. Marriage, divorce related matters, these laws are based on religion, ritual, customs of marriage, divorce, inheritance. We know that marriages बहुत सारे customs, और like in Hindu religion only there are various customs according to the castes, and based upon that marriages are conducted. There are various rituals, various customs and traditions that are different based upon religion to religion or caste to caste. I'm not saying anything upon caste system, but I'm just saying that as the region changes of India, जैसे जैसे जगह change होती है, the customs and traditions also start to change. There are various rituals and traditions which are followed at different places. So based upon that only various ceremonies are performed. मैरिज सेरेमनी, जो भी मुंडा सेरेमनी, जो भी कुछ होती हैं व्हेन अ बेबी इज़ बॉर्न, उसकी भी सेरेमनीज काफ़ी अलग अलग होती हैं बेस्ड अपॉन द रिलीजन. So all these are based upon religion, ritual and customs. In such matters, people are mostly governed by the personal laws laid down by their religions. Hindu Marriage Act is a personal law for a particular religion people. Muslim marriages, we have Muslim personal law, right? And this Muslim law, they consider it to be above the uniform code. Property law, this deals with ownership of movable and immovable properties. Property law नाम से पता चला है दो टाइप की properties होती हैं. Movable, that can be moved, like mobile phones, televisions. If you pick it up, you can move it from one place to another. That's why these items can be delivered from the shops to homes, right? Immovable properties, those lands, the buildings, the houses, they cannot move. You cannot pick up the land on which your house is made and you shift it to another place, right? So something which cannot be moved, that is immovable property. Everybody knows that. So property can be classified into two, movable and immovable, and for both these related matters we have property law. So another branch, property law. Transfer of Property Act deals with the transfer of immovable property. Sales of Goods Act, because goods means which can be delivered, which are deliverable goods. So their sales of goods act is in movable property, right? Then we have law of obligations. This branch pertains to an area where a person is required to do something because of his promise, contract or law. Obligation is duty. You are under an obligation to perform this act. You are under the duty. You are obliged to do that. You may have heard or you may not have heard these types of sentences, but obligation, if you want, you can search its meaning on Google or in a dictionary. Better is always, whenever you have to search for meaning of a word, always look up to a dictionary. Never and never go for Google Baba, okay? Because if you search in a dictionary, you ought to learn new words, and then for that new word you again turn the pages of the dictionary. So that be helpful for you. So back to this, obligation is the area where a person is required to do something because he has promised to do that, or because it was his duty to perform that action, or because he is bound by a contract that he had made with another party, or if he is bound by law to do that action or to not to do that action. It puts an obligation on person to perform certain actions which generally arise as a consequence of an enforceable promise or agreement. A promise or agreement that he has made with another person or another party, and that promise can be enforced, and it has some value in the eyes of law. It can be enforced in a court of law. Then, and if he is, as per that promise, he is required to do that action, that means law of obligation. If someone violates his promise, obligation है as per the law or contract, और उसने वो नहीं किया, then that promise can be enforced in court of law कि तुमने वो नहीं किया, which you are bound to do as per the contract. So such contracts are governed under Indian Contract Act of 1872, by which we have the definition of contract as an agreement which is enforceable by law. As I told you, any such promise or agreement which has some value in the eyes of law, जो कि legal हो, जो कि enforce कर सकें. अब हमने बोला कि a person A has promised to person B that if you marry me, I will give you all the stars and the moon which is there in the sky. So this thing is something impossible. This cannot be, actually in reality this cannot be fulfilled. It cannot be enforced. So such promises cannot be enforced in courts because they cannot these things cannot take place in reality, right? So this is something unnatural promise that he has made. But if I had said that if you marry me, a person A says to person B that if you marry me, I will give you this much piece of land. So this is enforceable, this is legal, that you are getting into an agreement of marriage whereby the thing is this piece of land will be exchanged. So that is enforceable. It can be done. So it is something which has values in the eyes of law, and it also, if either of the parties has violated, then this can be enforced in the court of law. In other words, a contract is an agreement with specific terms between two or more persons in which there is a promise to do something in lieu of a valuable profit, which is known as consideration. I am giving you the profit of that piece of land. You do the action of marrying me, right? So there are some specific, like we say, no, terms and conditions apply. You may have seen this written somewhere or the other place. You may have seen this. TNC apply, right? Terms and conditions apply. So there are some specific terms and conditions based upon which agreements are made between two people, between two groups of people. And I always say, चाहे वो persons हों, चाहे groups of people हों, I always say parties to the contract. So if two parties to a contract, they are entering into an agreement with specific terms and conditions to get a certain amount of profit आउट ऑफ दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. कोई भी अपने घाटे के लिए, अपने नुकसान के लिए अग्रीमेंट नहीं करेगा. हर बंदे को प्रॉफिट ही चाहिए होते हैं. सो फॉर गेटिंग अ प्रॉफिट, इफ़ ही इज़ entering into an agreement, if he is promising something and if he is violating, then he may be dragged into a court. For example, A offered his mobile phone to B for rupees 15,000. B agreed to purchase the same. Now there is a legal relationship because both have made a promise which is enforceable by law. Mobile phone ka exchange for a certain amount of money can be done. So this is something which can be enforced. Law of torts. What is this? Law of obligations, law of contracts, offer. You read this. A has offered his mobile phone to B, so there is an offer made by A to B कि तुम मेरा मोबाइल फ़ोन खरीद लो. An offer. B accepted it कि ठीक है मैं 15,000 में खरीद लूँगा. So that is accepted. Promise to perform. Okay, मैं खरीद लूँगा. I promise you कि इस डे, इस टाइम पर मैं आपको पैसे दे दूँगा और आप मुझे मोबाइल फ़ोन डिलीवर कर दो. यही तो ठीक है। तो होता है, जैसे हम लोग कोई सामान खरीदते हैं तो हम कहते हैं ना कि ठीक है मैं आपको इतना एडवांस दे रहा हूँ। इफ़ आई एम गोइंग इनटू अ शॉप टू बाय अ टेलीविज़न वर्थ ₹50,000, तो मैं कहती हूँ ठीक है मैं आपको 20,000 अभी दे रही हूँ, आप ये टीवी इस एड्रेस पर पहुँचाइए, बाकी का 30K और डिलीवरी चार्जेस जो होंगे प्लस डिलीवरी चार्जेस वो मैं आपको घर पे दे दूँगी। तो ये जो पर्सन है वो भी तो इस भरोसे पर ही देता है कि हाँ वो प्रॉमिस करके गया तो वो बाकी का 30,000 मुझे डिलीवर कर देगा। सो देयर इज़ अ प्रॉमिस दैट आई विल परफॉर्म द एक्शन। देन वैल्यूबल एंड लीगल कंसिडरेशन, तो लीगल कंसिडरेशन थी, उसको टीवी मिल रहा था, उसको 50,000 मिल रहा था, सो देयर इज़ अ लीगल कंसिडरेशन। टीवी खरीदना और बेचना लीगल काम है, कोई ख़राब चीज़ नहीं है, कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है जो लॉ ने मना किया हो। Time or event when performance must be made, you deliver this thing by this time onto my place, I will give you this money. Terms and conditions, then performance, जब हमने पूरा प्रॉमिस कर दिया तो अब बात आती है उसको परफॉर्म करने की। तो हमने प्रॉमिस किया कि मैं आपको 50K दूंगी, आप मुझे सामान डिलीवर करो, तो अब बारी आती है कि वो सामान डिलीवर हो जाए और ये बंदा 50K दे दे। ठीक है, टू परफॉर्म, सिर्फ प्रॉमिस करने से नहीं होता, उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना पड़ता है। तो सिर्फ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करने से नहीं होता, उसको परफॉर्म भी करना पड़ता है, उसको पूरा करना पड़ता है। इफ़ यू आर प्रॉमिसिंग आई विल गिव यू दिस गिफ्ट, तो आप उसको दीजिए। ठीक है। लॉ ऑफ टॉर्ट्स, tort is a civil wrong. This branch creates and provides remedies for civil wrongs that do not arise out of contractual duties. तो contract और tort अलग है। Contracts and torts both are civil wrongs, but two different things in civil wrong only. It is a civil wrong which is very different from the contractual duties, and this branch gives, and this branch defines what all can be there in tort and also what all remedies can be provided. A tort deals with negligence cases and intentional wrongs which cause harm. A grieved person may use law of tort to claim damages. Tort में damages दिए जाते हैं। damages is nothing but compensation monetary amount में 50,000 का compensation दिया जाएगा, क्योंकि आपने ये इंजरी सफ़र करी तो आपको 50,000 का कॉम्पनसेशन देंगे, या जितने का भी कॉम्पनसेशन देंगे, मुआवजा जिसको बोलते हैं हिंदी में। Torts cover intentional acts and accidents. If A throws a stone and it hits another person, B on head, B may sue A for injury caused by the accident. हम क्या कर रहे थे, वाटर डाल रहे थे पौधों पर बालकनी से, लेकिन पौधा गिर गया और एक बंदे को जो नीचे जा रहा था सड़क पे उसको लग गया। सो इट इज़ अ टॉट। ये एक नेग्लिजेंस है कि हमने ध्यान से नहीं किया पौधा नीचे कैसे गिरा, ये नेग्लिजेंस है, केयरलेस बिहेवियर। Classification of law. This is a flow chart. You can, again this is very simple, जो भी अभी पढ़ा है जितनी क्लासिफिकेशंस में बस वही सब दिया हुआ है, nothing new. So this is also done. This chapter is completed.